I could feel it in my stomach. It was one of those moments that you have when you feel really proud and also really just humbled by life. It was a really interesting experience, and I wasn't expecting to get off the phone and have that kind of emotional like feeling, but it was really
That feeling that you're feeling right there, that's called the warm and fuzzies, right? The warm and fuzzies, right? We say it all the time in the Marine Corps, the warm and fuzzies. It's like when a Marine takes, goes to his oven. Maybe it's been in the oven for like 30 minutes. He's baking a nice pan of like crayons, and he takes those little crayons, and they're like all warm, and they taste so good. And it's like, life is going to be okay. I just got out of the field. Life sucked all week. It's Friday. I get to have a beer and a nice warm crayon under my stomach. That's called the warm and fuzzies. What a great intro, man. What a great intro.
I had to cut it off at like 12 seconds. The thing bores me to death.
Maybe we should start at like 15, right?
That's right.
Or like 10 or something.
I'm gonna make a new countdown timer. I promise.
Just
put that on my checklist.
We should just completely switch it up and start at 60, and then see how that goes too.
We could start at 11. How about that?
11. No, that gives me that. I don't know. Something about an odd number doesn't sit well with me. 10 is good. 10 is good.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, how's the week been?
It's been absolutely insane. Emptied the whole house out, refurnishing the whole house a piece at a time, boxes everywhere, stuff everywhere, piles in the corner. Well, we're just redoing the house, and so we had everybody here, including mom and dad living in here, and then they are moving on to another place, and we were taking over the entire place, which was kind of, I guess, the plan for a while. And that finally happened. And now it was like one day everything was in the house, and then the next day everything was just gone. and then the next day furniture started showing up and movers and all kinds of stuff. So
and that's what happens, man. I'm the same way. My garage is just full of stuff that I don't even want to look at.
Yeah.
From our house is nice and empty and clean, but everything's stuck in the garage. And I still have stuff on, like those little stickers when you do PCS moves. They put those little stickers on there.
Yep.
I still got those things from like 10 years ago on thing. I look at them like I just got to get rid of this stuff, man. This stuff has been following me around for so long.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a rule that I talked to my wife about this. This is a rule, like the Minimalist, that podcast. I think it's called the 90 rule. Like if you haven't used it in 90 days, if you haven't touched it in 90 days, get rid of it because you probably won't need it.
Yeah.
So that's half the crap in there I haven't touched in 90. I don't know, 90. I want to say 90 years, but 90 days. I'm not that old. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of had my own rule set up for, I guess it was like 1 year. I think if I haven't touched it in 12 months, then it just literally needs to go in the trash or go to, Goodwill or somewhere. You could take a lot of that stuff to Goodwill and get a pretty big tax deduction.
You can. You know what? I thought you could take anything to Goodwill. So I took the dresser to Goodwill. I put it in the back of my SUV and I drove it out there. I was with my son. He helped me unload it. We took it all the way like to the back. The guy looked at it and he's like, no, we're not going to take this. It's missing like handles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what the hell? I loaded this thing up, thinking you guys take everything. And he's like, no, Salvation Army will take it. So I drove it out. Sure enough, they took it. They did take it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there is someplace that people will take your stuff. Don't just dump it on the side of the road or something or next to a dumpster.
Yeah.
But other than that, they took everything else, toys and shoes and all that. Yeah, no issues with that whatsoever.
Yeah, a lot of times they have certain days or certain times of the month where they'll take certain kinds of stuff and not other stuff. At least the Goodwill has certain things or certain list of items that they don't actually accept and take. But yeah, it could be, sometimes it could be an all day event driving around trying to drop stuff off here and then go here and drop stuff off and then go here. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's hopefully helping somebody else who's in need of those things that you're dropping off. So.
Yeah. Now, when it does come to like old uniforms, old combat boots, things like that, or like any kind of military affiliated stuff, even if it's something nice that maybe I'd rather donate elsewhere, I'll take that on to the on-base thrift shops. And I have utilized those on-base thrift shops a ton. So I figured, I purchased uniform items there for like, I think they call it quarter sales, brand new combat boots for like a quarter of the price. And, I'm partial to taking my stuff there in hopes that it'll help somebody else out, like it did to me. So yeah, a lot of my good stuff, I take it to the on-base thrift shops.
Yeah, I really like those on-base thrift shops. You can find a lot of good stuff there, especially overseas, like where you can't necessarily always get stuff and people that are coming in or whatever, PCSing, and they bring a bunch of stuff that they don't want to have in their smaller house when they get over here and realize that they have a smaller living area than they did in the States. They'll bring a bunch of stuff to the thrift shop and drop it off. And, you never know what you came across. You ever heard of a sous vide machine?
A sous vide? No, what is that?
Sous vide cooking, just to go off topic and off the rails for a minute. It's basically you vacuum seal like the meat or whatever you want to cook.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You put this like stick thing. It looks like a stick blender, but it's really just a temperature regulator. And you hit the temperature that you want to cook it at, and then you just walk away. And it just sits in this bath of water at like 160 degrees or whatever it's supposed to be. And they had one in there for like $10. I was like, wow, it's like a $300 piece of equipment.
Damn, yeah, you can't beat that with a stick, man.
Yeah, super, super nice.
Yeah. So I did, last time I was at the thrift shop on base, I did find some metals. I don't know if you saw the video I put up on the Green Logbook, and I mean, that's just a little snippet, but I found these metals, and they're not exactly like, very prestigious metals or anything like that. Not combat metals. You got the Navy Achievement Medal there. I think that's the, I can't recall what that one in maroon right next to it is. But you got the National Defense. There's a couple things that they're not very like prestigious awards or anything like that. However, they're from 1951, and one of the medals that I found the guy's name was engraved in the back. So I did some research, and because you can't get that medal anymore, it's like for an old campaign, right? And it was like a Korean War campaign or something. And I did some research on this guy, and sure enough, he's buried near my place, maybe like 10, 15 miles away.
Wow.
And I'm wondering like how maybe they were like his family was cleaning out the stuff and then they donated it to a thrift shop. But I'm like, why is this just sitting on the counter? So I picked it up real quick and sat, I was kind of sad about it. 50 cents is what these things cost me.
Right.
And I was trying to track down the family through this video, right? It got a lot of looks and shares and stuff. And I was trying to track down somebody. Maybe I can give it back to them. Maybe, give it to the schoolhouse over in Chicago. It's a Navy schoolhouse. Maybe I can give it to them. Or I called the USS Midway here in San Diego. Maybe they wanted it to display because they have different displays around there. But nobody really knew what to do with it. I still have it sitting there on my counter, but I don't know what to do with these things. I'm not going to give them back to a thrift shop. I'm not going to throw them away. It's got some kind of significant value. So I'm trying to figure out. So if anybody out there listening knows what the heck I need to do with these medals, they belong to a Master Chief Petty Officer, and it's got his name engraved in the back. I'm just trying to figure what to do. But you can find some crazy stuff at the thrift shops, man. Yeah. Not only did I find this stuff, I found a 1975 signet ring, a Marine Corps signet ring. It has a little like jewel in the middle. It's got like the little engraving, kind of like what you get on, high school type of rings. It's got the little engravings on the side and all that. I found one of those, and that was like $5. So I picked that up. I cleaned it up a little bit. It's a little too big for my finger, but I got to get it resized and all that. But I thought that was a great find. Yeah, you can find some incredible things out there, man.
Yeah, and you got to get there early too, because there's people that go there religiously every week. and they get in there as soon as the doors are open. So
yeah, there's so lucky enough, at least on the base thrift shops, folks active duty in uniform get head of line privileges. So I was always going in there in my uniform. I don't care if it was the weekend, dude. I'm like in my uniform just to get those head of the line privileges, kind of like being at the commissary.
Yep.
And I just go in there and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh shoot, they got some Nikes here. Let me grab those real quick. They got this, these golf clubs here. And then my garage started filling up with just random crap. And my wife was like, hey, you got to get rid of the stuff. So sure enough, the stuff that I bought from that same thrift shop, I had to take it back at some point in time, because I was just getting full of just random crap. But it's fun to do, fun to go to, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I like thrift shops. I like going to these flea markets that they have, whether they're local here or if I go somewhere else and they have a flea market. And especially over here, overseas, they have some of these flea markets. I might have mentioned it, or I thought we might have been talking about it, but like I went to a flea market downtown and there was literally like a 2 or 3 tables of stuff this guy had. Just one old guy. He was probably in his 60s, 70s. And everything on the table was old, like World War I, World War II German stuff, right? So it was like log books from military, like supply people and training books and like all kinds of old Nazi stuff and knives and pins and photos, all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. It was insane. I spent probably an hour there just looking at everything, just picking through everything and looking at it just to see what was there. And he had a whole collection. It's like he went to an old army, like an old like Nazi base in Germany that was not discovered for 50 years.
Right.
And like found a chest full of stuff and just grabbed the chest and took it and like brought it to the flea market. That's what it looked like. Because everything was in really, really good condition. Like it looked like it was still as good as new.
That stuff is so cool, man. I love seeing old stuff like that. Like the old, I've seen something similar, not at a flea market, but it was at a thrift shop. It was behind a case. It was at an on-base thrift shop, and it was old K-bars from, like, I don't know, the 40s. They were significantly longer, right? Yeah. From like the 40s and stuff, from different wars, different battles. And I thought, man, the things that thing has been through and seen, right? Even if it wasn't used, I mean, it went through processing, it went through somebody's hands, it was just, it was in good condition. It wasn't rusted, but, I didn't need a K-bar at that point in time, right? Especially like an old K-bar. What am I going to do with that thing? So, yeah, but you can definitely find some cool stuff out there, man. Yeah. On-base thrift shops.
That's right. Shout out to the on-base thrift shops and shout out to anybody who can figure out what to do with those metals.
Yeah, for real. Those things are just sitting there, and I kind of feel bad looking at them. I was even thinking about just going to that guy's like gravesite and just putting them on his, I guess his tombstone. But I don't know if that was a thing. Do people do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I know people do it, but I don't know like how you would. I mean, I guess you could just go there and just put it there, or maybe like a handwritten note or something like that. Or
yeah. Like I've seen people put like pennies and quarters on grave sites or on the tombstones, and those have some kind of significant meaning. But I don't know about putting medals on there. I have no idea. So I'll find out. I'll figure this thing out, man.
Get to the bottom of it.
That's right. So just shifting gears a little bit. So I'm going to get into VR&E real quick. I haven't heard back yet from my VR&E submission that I submitted. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks this Wednesday. I know it takes like up to 2 weeks is what they say.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping that I hear something back. Because it's like I'm on a time crunch, and I probably should have done this ahead of time, right? So a lot of the graduate programs that I'm looking to get into start in August, right? I mean, there's exceptions like National University who start every month, right? Because they're one class per month. Excuse me. And some of the ones that I've been looking at specifically for the counseling ones start in August.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of at a time crunch. I'm like, okay, I need to talk to somebody at VR&E to see if they'll approve my graduate program. Um, I'm like 90% sure that they will, only because you need to have a master's for that program, so, or for that specialty. So it's like I can't practice that at a bachelor's. Everything requires a master's plus licensure. So I'm almost certain that they'll approve that master's, but I just need to talk to somebody first. So
Yeah.
it's I'm kind of at a standstill right now, and I'm like, come on, send me an email, and I don't want to reapply again because that's specifically they tell you on the website, don't apply again if you've already applied.
No.
So I don't know. Was your turnaround a lot quicker than 2 weeks, or how long did it take yours?
I want to say that it was right at 2 weeks, and I don't know if I can probably look it up, but I don't know if you can go on the site maybe and call like the VA, like customer
Mhm.
service, and see if they can route you through to the VR&E folks and see if they can just do a ping on it, just like they do with your
Yeah,
claims and stuff like that as well.
I might have to
Um,
do that, man.
yeah, because it shouldn't take too much longer, and I don't think they're backlogged at the moment, as far as I know. They were pretty quick with me, and then once I got my counselor, and then had to switch counselors
Mhm.
um, because of the jurisdiction of the counselors, or where they're physically located and who they can assist. That took another week or two, but yeah, all in all, it was pretty quick, pretty simple.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to get a hold of them, man, because again, time is of the essence here for me a little bit. So, I mean, I still
Yeah.
have all of July, but I don't want to wait until the last minute to get this stuff because I know it's a whole process, right? And especially when they're giving you the money for it, it's a freaking process. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
speaking of the process, like the initial process, once you get linked up with your counselor, and what I'm
Mhm.
going through now, I actually have an appointment tomorrow in the afternoon to meet up with my counselor. He's actually going on like vacation for a week or something like that. So, but he wanted me to get this packet put together, and I'm just going to pull it up on screen real quick and show it. But
Yeah.
where's it at? Um, yeah, hopefully that's viewable. But yeah, basically the packet itself, it's pretty straightforward. Like this is literally all the stuff that I have to do. So I've got to get my PAC Act documentation together. I've got to do a career scope and aptitude testing, which I did already, and then take those results and put them in here. He said I could just take like screenshots and whatever and put the stuff together, or just put it in a PDF or whatever. So I just decided to put it into like a presentation, and it's shareable, so I can just give him the link. He doesn't have to screw around with, does the document type match, and is it the right word format
Mhm.
for whatever version of Word he's got.
Right.
But these are basically out of the checklist and the paperwork they sent back. This is basically what I need to do. I got to do labor market, which is basically the fields of interest that we discussed for my particular case, for the program. And then I have to do check on job searches, and not necessarily job searches that are available right now, but job searches that could potentially be available in 1 to 2 to 3 years. So it's not really like you have to get the information about the snapshot right now. He's like, if you can figure out, especially where I'm at, if you can figure out what the job market looks like,
Mhm.
and then try to scope it out a couple years into the future, 2 3 5 years, because as you're going through the program and process, right, like for myself, I need to go through and finish my schooling and do some other stuff in that process, and that's going to take a couple of years. So it's not like I'm going to start the VR&E process and then go apply for a job in 6 months. Like it's going to
Right.
be 2 years or whatever it happens to be. So then you have to write up a statement, which is basically like one paragraph, two paragraphs of what exactly you're trying to do, and what hurdles you're trying to overcome by using the VR&E process. The mental health statement is not optional, but it's not mandatory to have it immediately. So I can go and do that after the fact.
Where
And then
where does that come from? The mental health statement.
I just have to
Do
go
you,
to like my local doc or whatever,
okay.
and get just a quick checkup, and um, basically telling me like, am I mentally stable enough to hold a job or not hold a job, what are my limitations, anything like that. Plus, that would be also, so a lot of this process, like you notice the first bullet is PAC Act documentation. Not just the readiness and employment stuff, but he's also working with me as far as if I need any help with putting in a claim, getting a claim elevated to a higher claim status or anything like that. Like that's part of what he's doing with me as well. So,
okay.
And again, everybody's experience is going to be different. It depends on who your counselor is, what you're actually doing, what credentials you have already, what you're trying to do, and what job you're trying to shoot for. So just kind of take that all with a grain of salt. But basically, this is the same exact information that everybody who's applying for VR&E needs to submit.
Yeah. So this is not something that can be done in like one day then, because you have to go talk to a medical officer and see what they say. So I wasn't aware that all these things, I thought it was just, hey, VR&E, you apply, you talk to the guy the girl or whoever who gives you the thumbs up. Hey, your program looks like it's good to go. And bam, money in the bank, go to school. So there's actual like more to it. Okay. Yeah. And you've completed what am I looking at here? Is this like a Google document or something, or like PowerPoint or something?
I just did it on Canva. I put together a kind of like a PowerPoint, but on Canva, so that I could just send him the link, and then he could just pull the link up on his screen. And he pulled it up the other day. He's like, "Oh, this is awesome." I just pull it up and look at it, and I can see it. And I was like, "Yeah, you can see if I change things in real time or whatever, if you want to check on my status." So it's a little bit easier.
Where did you get this career scope of interest from? Like all these numbers, these stats?
Yeah, in the document that he sent me, there's a link to a career aptitude test that you have to take. It's basically a bunch of questions. You just fill out the questions. I forget how many questions it was, but it took like maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes, 30 minutes or something like that to do the whole thing. And then it spits back this information, and then it also gives you like a breakdown of each thing, like what does realistic mean, what does social mean, based on your scores, right? So that's just some of the information that I included in there that's part of that aptitude testing. But this is all basically the same stuff that, like I said, everybody who's doing the VR&E program or who wants to do the VR&E program, this is what you got to do. And he gives me 30 days, and I would say that's a fair assessment, especially like going to school full time and doing stuff at home and doing all this other stuff. It takes time to gather this stuff. The mental health stuff, like I said, it doesn't have to be done within the 30 days. It can be done up to, a month or two afterwards, because he understands that takes time. Schedule an appointment to go and talk to the person, have them come back and give you whatever documentation you need for the program. So that's not a real pressing issue. But everything else on there is.
Okay. So this is all good information. Good to know, since I'm going to be going through it myself. What to look forward to here. Yeah. Excellent, man. So that what you just put up there with your career scope, it almost reminded me of like the Myers-Briggs type of thing, where it gives you some feedback on that and your personality. I know I've had to take that before, like in my military time.
Yep.
There's another one. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called 16 Personalities. So I heard of that one. Back maybe 5 years ago, I had all my Marines take a personality test. For one, it was like a fun thing to do, but for two, it was like, I really want to know what I'm working with here, because I want to be, I was studying up a lot about talent management at that point, right? I took a class on it through the military, and then we had a guest speaker come and talk to us about, managing your people effectively through finding out what their talents are and putting them in specific places in order to make sure that they, for one, are successful, and for two, that they can achieve a certain goal. So that led me to do like a deep dive into like personalities and all that. And it was a fun little thing. I think it's called 16 Personalities. It was a fun little thing where it asks you questions, it gives you feedback, tells you what kind of personality type you are, and has like these little animated characters that kind of show a little bit about you. And it shows you at the bottom maybe 5 or 10 notable people, like celebrities or scientists, or like people you may have heard of, who have that similar type of personality to you. I can't remember who mine was. It was I couldn't even tell you, man. This was like 5 years ago, but yeah, it's people were surprised at their personality types. Like, man, I had no idea. Like, this person is like this actor is like that, or this celebrity or whoever's has the same kind of personality type. But yeah, it is eye opening. Yeah. Let me see if it is 16 personalities, because I might want to go take it again. It is
Yeah.
16 personalities.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those kind of tests out there. There's
Yeah.
that. There's the dark triad is another one. There's a bunch of like personality Briggs-Myers type testing out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're fun just to know where you stand in life, right? Like, what can I do best with how I am and what I was given, the talents that I possess. Those are fun. Those are fun. So
yeah, we actually
ahead.
did in the Army when I was doing the military. What is it called? The Master Resiliency training for the Army, and I'm sure they have the same kind of thing in the other services. But that was one of because it was like a 14 module program, and each module was like 1 to 2 to 3 hours a piece, and you just kind of did them over time over the course of the year.
Right.
And one of the things we did was the Briggs-Myers. We just made everybody take it, and then we brought that assessment and used that as we did the training to go back and as a reflection, as a kind of like a baseline point to where they were and where they are now and what they were trying to improve on, so that we're not just giving them the training and stopping our foot on the ground and doing the mandatory training kind of thing. Try to make it a little bit more dynamic so that they could actually have something to reference back to. So
yeah, it's incredible what people are doing out there with these personality things. And real quick on your VR&E slide there, how did you find out? I think I saw something on like a career path. They were asking you about the career path. Labor market information. How did you find that? Like, step 1, obtain labor market information for your field of interest.
Yeah, so there's a couple sites you can go on, but you can actually just go. I can see if I can try to pull it up, but I'll just talk to it real quick. You can go out there and look on different websites and do some research, and really like baseline, it's just like go to USA Jobs and see what jobs are out there based on keywords or specific topics or specific kind of jobs that you're looking for. And then from there, figure out like what the jobs are, what the pay ranges are, those kind of things that you want to feed into that like data.
Right.
But there are some LMI. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
So I bring that up because when I was going through the whole TRS thing, this is one of the better things I picked up from TRS is they gave me this website called ONET Online. And that gives you like, that's the one. Okay. So they give you like all the labor statistics and how the outlook on certain career fields in the next 5 years, 10 years. Let me share it up on here, because I'm like always on this, especially like recently. I've been on this thing like every day. Pull it up here at the stage. There you go. Yeah, just looking at what kind of occupations have bright career outlooks, hot technology career fields, different job families. You can look at just put in whatever you want to do, or you can put in your MOS. And it'll come up with different career fields, and it'll tell you what exactly you need to do to get in those career fields. It'll describe it by location. If you live in, I don't know, I'm throwing something out there, in Ohio or something, Cincinnati, Ohio, pull that thing up, and then it'll tell you what the job outlook looks like for, I don't know, what you want, electrician in Cincinnati, Ohio, and what steps you need to do in order to get that job or that career field. Yeah, this one it was one of the better websites that I found was useful during the TRS process.
Yeah, and it's funny that that was one of the websites that they gave us for the VR&E thing. And then I talked to a lady from the Department of Labor like maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and she mentioned the same website. We were talking about a bunch of different things like government contracting and things like that, but She mentioned the same website as far as looking for different kinds of jobs out there and what kind of pay rates are on them and things like that. So,
yeah, and it
interesting.
gives you like all the, I think it gives you all, the education needed, the skills required, and like the pay scales right here, pay scales for different states, different, I mean, you could even put it by zip code, the employment, projected growth, state trends, different industries within that career. This one's solid, pretty good.
Yeah, and if you're looking to get out and then continue doing the same job specialty that you had when you were in the military, putting in that MOS in there, and that'll give you a whole list of different jobs that are related to your MOS field and category, which gives you a good jumping off point to start. And then from there, you can kind of go down the rabbit holes and figure out what it is that you want to do, or if you're trying to put together a general idea, if you want to change your career path, this will definitely point you in the right direction.
Yeah, this is a good one, only because I know a lot of folks who are doing a certain job in the military and they don't want to do that job anymore, so they want to make a complete switch. This is essential if you want to do that. Like shit, for instance, for me, I mean, I was doing military justice all my career. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to. I've been there and I've done that. I'd like to try something else in the next chapter of my life. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are of the same mindset.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but just doing something that you actually enjoy. Like, I'm sure you enjoyed the legal stuff, but you were also like, that was part of your career path in the military, right? It wasn't like
that's right.
You just got to pick that out of all of them. You're like, that's the one I want to do. They're like, here's the options. You can be infantry or.
Yeah. I had picked 3 different things and they're like, this one's got a long wait list. So does this one, and we can get you in this one here pretty quick. And I'm like, whatever. Okay, let's go. Yeah. Like, I wasn't really picky because I didn't really know. Like, they just told me pick 3. I'm like, I just want to leave, and like the soonest available. I don't care what I do.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be a cook. Nothing against cooks out there. It's just, it wasn't for me. But yeah,
that's same with duty stations too, right? I mean, duty station,
yeah.
Same exact thing. Like, you pick the 3 that you want to go to, and they give you 9. Well, I won't say 90%. A lot of the time, they give you none of those 3 choices, and they give you some other choice. It's one that you really weren't thinking about.
That's right. So yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, you're bringing up some memories here, man.
PTSD moments.
God, no. It was they had asked. I recall they asked me like, "Hey, where do you want to go?" I'm like, I want to go to Miramar, like Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego, or I want to go to Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And they came back with 29 Palms, California. And I'm like, 29 Palms, and I was young, right?
Right. And sounds good.
Yeah, and I looked it up. I was like, what? You could put it side by side, like 29 Palms and freaking Mars. And you can't tell the difference, dude. Like, I'm being honest. You cannot tell the difference. And I was like, what is this? This is completely different from anything I was thinking about. Here, let me look this up, man. Anybody out there, 29 Palms, man. I joke that, and I've been out there many times, right? I joke that's where dreams go to die. God, but it is. It's a training base, right?
Right.
It's close to Palm Springs, but it's super hot. And here, let me see if I can. Yeah, this is a good photo of it here. Let me pull that thing up.
I just see all the beautiful Joshua Tree National Park. That's all I see when I pull it up.
So Joshua Tree is nice, and it's out there. It's nearby. But I mean, if you go on this training base, you're not exactly in Joshua Tree, right? You're
literally in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful.
Right there.
Looks like
29 Palms. Yeah, exactly. I guess they try to mimic that, like out in the desert, because it literally is out in the desert. And they got this lake out there called Lake Bandini, right? You think, oh, there's a water feature on base. Dude, that it's like the lake is pink, man. It's so infested with nastiness out there. You don't want to breathe in those fumes. I'll tell you that. So it's pretty bad. I'm glad I didn't get that place. Hold on, let me get off that thing. I don't even want to look at it anymore. That's it. But yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? They give you several options. You usually get the worst of all the options, but luckily enough, I never got that option. So, big ups to the Marine Corps and the monitors for not sending me there.
Mm-hmm. I did find my my notes that I took the other day from the call that I had with my VR&E.
Oh yeah.
If you want me to hit any of these points. Oh yeah. So the thing we were talking about earlier. Hold on, let me unlock Twitter because it's doing a Twitter Spaces. If you're in X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Elon Musk still calls it Twitter, so I'm going to still call it Twitter. If you happen to be on Twitter, we're also streaming there just to test some things out, and hopefully it works. You don't know, but it'll be recorded on there as well. But the thing that we were talking about the other day with the BAH, or what it is or what it isn't. So you were right; it's subsistence allowance, and there's a table. I had it up. I think I sent you the link to it before. But there's a table that basically says, here's the VR&E subsistence allowance baseline payments, and then if you had dependents and things like that. And the thing about it is if you don't have any GI Bill credit left, right? You don't have any more months of GI Bill credit or post 9/11 GI Bill credit left, then that subsistence allowance base table is what you go off of for the money that they give you on the VR&E program. If you do have at least 1 month of Chapter 33 benefits available, then they'll go off of whatever the BAH rate is for your locality. So if you're in California, or if you're in North Carolina, or whatever that BAH rate is for E5, and then add on dependents as well if you have wife, husband, kids. So that was the kind of difference, and then just the naming convention is a little bit different. But yeah, you were correct. It's subsistence allowance.
But is it two different pots of money? So my big hang up on this is if the subsistence allowance, if I were and it's a little strange because they call it the post 9/11 on the website, post 9/11 subsistence allowance. So I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, well, if I use the VR&E and I use this and I get this post 9/11 subsistence allowance at the time that I finish using the VR&E and then I go to start using my post 9/11 GI Bill benefits, do I still get the post 9/11 BAH that comes along with that post 9/11? Is it like two different pots of money, or is it like just, hey, we just have one pot of BAH money and we're going to call it subsistence here, we're going to call it BAH here, and once you use that pot, it's gone. So that's the part I wasn't clear on.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's I don't know for sure if it's two pots. I assume it is two pots because it's it's two different chapters of basically the law. Like each one of those chapters is a chapter of law that dictates that specific program, right?
Yeah.
And when you use it, or at least from my understanding from my conversations so far, when you use that BAH subsistence allowance from the post 9/11, that's why they say you only have to have 1 month available, and they don't actually take that month away from you. They just want to make sure that you have that 1 month available, because if your VR&E goes for 24 months, let's say, for example, right? They're only checking one time to see if you have 1 month of Chapter 33, right? And they don't take that away. That stays there. I think it's just it's kind of like a prerequisite kind of thing. Like, oh, you have this, so then we can give you this. But if you didn't have this, then we can't give you that. So as far as my understanding of it is you, even after you finish your VR&E stuff, if you're pulling in that BAH rate from the Chapter 33, and then you finish your VR&E and you decide to take Chapter 33 benefits to continue for, you say, a master's or a doctorate degree or whatever, then that BAH and all that stuff that comes along with Chapter 33 will be the same. Like it shouldn't change.
Okay. So it just might be two different pots of money, especially if you only have like 1 month of post 9/11. I mean, they can't effectively take all the BAH from that 1 month, right? Because you've already used up probably 35 months out of the 36 months of BAH from the post 9/11. So yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? Yeah, they wouldn't be taking away the BAH. It's a whole completely different pot of money.
No.
Yeah, if not, then they'd require you to have 36 months in order to take 36
Right.
months of VR&E.
Right.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and then if you tack on the extra 12 that we get now, or we should be getting now for
Yeah,
um,
it's getting there.
for that, and then you've got two sets. If you did a full 48 months of VR&E, right? Because that's what the maximum allocation is 48 months worth of
Mm-hmm.
VR&E. If you did that a full 48 months, like say you got on a degree program and you used the full entire 48 months of VR&E and then
Right.
came off the program, then you would have potentially an additional 48 months of chapter 33 that you could use. That's a lot of schooling. That's a lot of time.
Dude, that sounds so cool, man, because it's like you can do anything you want at that point with that schooling.
You could be a career student, basically.
Yeah, exactly, right. You could you don't really have to work. I mean, you can get that BAH or subsistence allowance.
Yeah.
Not saying that maybe you shouldn't seek employment, but if you choose not to, well, I mean, that's there for you, and you just spend your days, the next 8 years of your life, just learning,
right,
and growing, and then finding a career that really interests you. And it doesn't have to be like a degree seeking program, I don't think, does it? Like the VR&E, it has to be like something like it could be an electrician, maybe a carpenter, something that really interests you. And I'm not sure, does the post 9/11 need to be a career seeking program? No,
I don't think
right?
it needs to be either. No, I think that also covers vocational stuff.
Yeah. So you can just roll that over and just continue on learning. I mean, you can still have your own business, and on top of that, you just continue learning AC technician or refrigeration or electrician or whatever it is, and just continue that while you have your business. You still get your post 9/11 GI Bill, which here in Southern California is like $3,500, a month.
Yeah,
it's dude. I'm so glad I joined the military, man. I'm so glad. Yeah. And your kids get it too, right? In some states, right. They give the dependents was it chapter 31? Over here in California, they call it CalVet. I can't recall what they call it, like in general, but yeah, dependents, they get free state school as well. So yeah, everything's covered, man. Everything's covered. All that money I was saving for my kids and for college, like, hey, I have all. Exactly. What do I do now? What do I do? I mean, it's still sitting there getting dividends and all that. But I'm like, hey, now we don't have to focus on the college. I'm still going to leave it in there. But it's a good predicament to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're blessed, that's why I told you when I got off the phone with them, that first interaction, I could feel it in my stomach, like, just it was weird. It was one of those moments that you have when you feel really proud and also really just humbled by life. Like the humbleness of life just kind of overcomes you. That's what it felt like. It was really interesting experience, and I wasn't expecting to get off the phone and have that kind of emotional like feeling, but it was really, it's very good that we've spent our time, that we've paid our dues, so to speak, because ideally you could come off of active duty, retired, get your retirement paycheck, whatever that happens to be. You could potentially be up to 100% disabled and get that paycheck tax-free, essentially, and then apply for school or go through some kind of rehab and rehab program for employment that could potentially carry you for 48 months paid, and then an additional 48 months. That's a lot of, and like you said, you could have your own business, or you could be potentially working part-time or something like that. Like you could do the thing that I was going to bring up in a minute, which is basically go be a poll worker for the election this year and get paid $200 a day to do that while you're going to school. Yeah.
Well,
you didn't hear about this?
Well, John, I think I just found my new career field.
Yeah, I was
So,
gonna bring it up separately, but I mean, it just kind of dovetailed right into that conversation. So that's kind of
yeah,
nice.
I'm at the right. Write that down.
Nice segue. Nice segue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I'll tell you that feeling that you're feeling right there, that's called the warm and fuzzies, right?
The
The
warm
warm
and
and
fuzzy.
fuzzies, right? We say it all the time in the Marine Corps, the warm and fuzzies. It's like when when a Marine takes, goes to his oven after baking, like maybe it's been in the oven for like 30 minutes. He's baking a nice pan of like crayons, and he takes those little crayons and they're like all warm, and they taste so good. And it's like, life is going to be okay. I just got out of the field. Life sucked all week. It's Friday. I get to have a beer and a nice warm crayon in my stomach. That's called the warm and fuzzies. It feels so good.
Oh man, what am I
No,
gonna
but
do?
hey, I did not know about the poll worker, man. That's cool. $200
Yeah,
a day, man. I'm gonna have
I'll
to check
bring this
that
up
out.
for you right now. Hold on,
Yeah, let's check it out.
where's it at?
Anybody out there who's looking for something to do with their life right now after they got out, you could be a poll worker.
I mean, it's a lot of work, right? You got to stand around all day. You got to usher people back and forth, make sure people are doing the right things, have all the right credentials and all that stuff. So it's not a easy job, but for $200 a day, like I don't know
Dude,
if you get
what
paid
better
Walmart greeter for 200
what
bucks.
better job for a military veteran than to tell people, hey, get back in line. You're out of line. Just knife handing all over the place. Just this is a great job. Even the guy standing there is in the military. Look at him.
Yep.
I don't know about the white beard. Shit, I'm getting mine. Mine's turning white myself, right? But that's pretty good. Seeking veterans for midterm elections. All right, I can do this. Let's see.
Yeah, and this was dated like what's 2022. So, but still, elections happen every couple of years, right? This is midterm, so
What
this is
website is
actually
this?
election year. It's the VA.gov website.
Okay. Yeah, as long as what I hear, what I've seen on TV is you can't give people water, even if they're like hot as hell, because that may influence the election. Only because I watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm a big Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. And at one point, Larry David the main character, right, gave somebody water, and he got arrested for it in Georgia. I don't know if that's a thing. I've never even heard of that, but apparently
it actually sounds like a thing in Georgia, actually.
Yeah. Well, Georgia's out there, man. I've had some interesting conversations driving through Georgia and stopping at rest stops. Very interesting. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, that's
in Georgia.
You never know, man. You never know. I was looking for a gas station, and it took me to like I didn't even know this place existed. It was like behind trees. The gas station, the gas pump still had like the little numbers that went up. You can see them going up. Cletus is sitting inside. It's just fucking in his overalls. I'm like, this is like what you see on TV. Very cool.
It's real. It's real.
Oh man. All right. So we got a question here that just came up on what general financial advice would you give to an E6 who is 3 years out from retirement? John, I think I'll hit this real quick. I would say probably do the same thing that I did, and I was very particular about this because I'm big on my finances. I want to make sure that I had a good future for myself and my family. If you have any debt, number one, clear all that stuff out. You definitely do not want to get or start the next chapter of your life with any kind of debt. That's right. Okay, that's going to feel like a burden on you, and you're like, crap, I should have got rid of this stuff. So I don't know if you got a Dodge Charger with 28% interest, get rid of that thing, man. You don't need that thing in your life. Trust me. The simpler, the better. Yeah, get rid of debt. Let me see. Look into, well, at least what worked for me was I was maxing out my TSP. Probably the last decade. And that thing grew like exponentially, man. It was insane how much it grew, especially with like how everything went with the economy. I got out of the G fund for one. If you're in the G fund, man, get out of there. Trust me. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't really tell you that, but I'm just telling you what worked for me. I got out of the G fund. I put all my money into the C and the S fund, and about 25% of my paycheck went in there, as much as I could without, hitting me too hard. And that thing grew. And I didn't feel it too much because my wife was also working. We made it a thing. Um, and this is another thing that might work for you, right? So if you are married, um, and your wife works, my wife was working. She was GS, and she still is GS. I was, of course, working in the Marine Corps, and we made an agreement that all of my money that I brought in was going to go in savings, and we would just live off of her funds. And that was probably for the last 3 years of my active duty time. So for the last 3 years, my entire paycheck went to my savings and investing, and we just lived off of hers. And life was okay because the house is paid for. We had BAH, the groceries are paid for. Still had my side businesses that I was doing, so that helped out a ton. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you can work that out with your spouse, your significant other, dude, that worked wonders. And I was like, I got out. I was like, okay, my TSP is looking nice. Savings is looking nice. We were able to buy a house here, and here in Southern California, and we have a plan to pay it off in the next 10 years. So things are looking nice as long as you have a plan getting out financially. I don't know if you got anything to add to that, John.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. The first and foremost thing, if you got 3 years left, you got plenty of time as long as you stop screwing around with your money. And what I mean by that is, and I'm sure, so just full disclosure, if you haven't checked out the Fire Social Worker on YouTube, he's just starting up his channel. He's getting things going. He's doing some podcasting and some live streaming as well. He's a financial social worker. I think I said that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm actually going to see about getting him on. I think we're scheduled for next week, so hopefully he'll be here next week, and we're going to dive into some of this financial stuff for sure. But yeah, if you're screwing around with your money and you're not just, we talked about the baseline thing, right? We talked about the Briggs-Myers and doing kind of like this mental scrub of your brain and trying to figure out what personality types you have. Same goes with finances. Sit down for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month, and write down every single penny that you put out. Unbiased, of course, right? So if you spend $2 on a cup of coffee, write it down. If you spend, $60 on gas, write it down. If you pop a tire and you got to spend $200 on a tire or $150 on a tire, write it down. Just write it down. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just write it down. At the end of all that, then you can, and write down the dates too. So at the end of that, you can look at that, ideally over a month. That way you've got a pretty good snapshot of what your finances look like. Yep. And figure out what exactly it is that you're giving money away to that's really not serving your end goal purpose of becoming financially unburdened, right? To get out from under the debt. Because you can carry things on debt, but you're going to pay $200, $300, $500 a month on your credit cards or whatever it happens to be, on your car payment. Of course, you've got to have a place to live, but if you're in the military right now, theoretically, they're paying for your housing. You don't have to have a super fancy car. If you are close to paying it off, just pay it off. Like, pay it off. And I know this is different for every single person, but you have to start thinking differently if you want to become financially free and you want to become debt free. So that's the absolute number one thing. Everything else kind of, I think once you start to make that mental shift of becoming debt free or trying to become debt free, then everything else kind of just falls into place after that. Because once you pay off a credit card, or once you pay off some of your debt, or get rid of even 5% of your debt, and then you look at what you've got left at the end of the day, like your eyes will start to open up more and more and more as you start to pay down the debt. And then once you get to the point where you've got like one bill left and you pay it off, that you can't really describe the feeling that it feels like. Maybe not in that exact moment when you pay it off, but the moment after that, the month after that, or the 2 months after that, when you're like, man, I really don't have any issues. And you'll find out as well, the less debt you have, the more happiness you have in your life, between you and your spouse, between you and your kids, between you and your parents. Like, you just, a lot of that stress goes away, because there's a lot of stuff that we stress over and have arguments about that's really wrapped around money, right? Look at
Yeah.
a family that has money issues and has bad relationships with money when somebody dies.
Mm-hmm.
Arguments, everybody's fighting over the will. Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say I'm with you on that. Living simply, I think, worked out for us. When I retired, I got rid of, but I still have a ton of stuff, but I got rid of a ton of stuff.
Mhm.
Right. We went from a bigger home, and then we purposely looked for a smaller place. Right. Because I know I didn't want, I saw how much like my AC was running all the time.
Mhm.
And I've lived in a home where I had two ACs at some point, so I'm like, that thing was expensive, to run. So we purposely looked for a place that was a little bit smaller, but could fit my entire family. We found that place in a good neighborhood, and we got rid of so many things. And we decided, you know what? We don't need all this crap. We don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need all these, pieces of furniture. Let's just live as simply as possible with what we need. And I don't know why it felt like a burden lifted off my shoulders, man. I was like, man, it's almost like when you leave home and you go to like a hotel or a resort, and it's like, okay, the minimal amount of stuff is on the counters. It just feels good. Like when you check into an Airbnb, like there's nothing there. I'm like, this feels nice. So I kind of modeled my place after that. Like, hey, that feeling of walking to an Airbnb or something, and I don't know, like Tulum, Mexico or something. And we modeled our place after that. Nothing on the counters, nothing, that catches your eye, that kind of would make you feel like this is a burden on me. So I think getting rid of a ton of stuff, especially as you transition, especially as you're about to do your last PCS, is essential, because not only can you sell a bunch of that crap. I've sold tons of stuff at garage sales right before I PCS'd, and a lot of the stuff I just gave away, and it was like a tax write-off. I had like 8 slips from Goodwill. I'm like, hey, look, and I put that on my taxes.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just, not only is it a financial stress relief, it's also like an emotional, a mental stress relief. So yeah, fire social worker. I just gave you a sub from the Green Logbook. So looking forward to seeing your channel grow, man. I'm gonna follow your stuff here.
Yeah, Joey reached out to me, I guess a couple weeks ago. We've been talking for a little while, and
Mhm.
he's trying to do his thing, and yeah, definitely want to support him, and anybody else out there too. I was actually, just as a side note, or kind of a side quest. I do a lot of, I'm sure you do a lot of analytics in the background as well, looking at other channels, looking at other people talking about this stuff, not necessarily to find out like who's the competition, because for me, there is no competition. If you're winning and I'm winning, we're all winning, right? I'm
Yeah.
not trying to compete with anybody. Um, but doing some research, and it made me feel blessed. It made me feel like really good, that I think that we're doing good things, and I hope that it's impacting people. And I kind of feel like it is, when I see a couple more channels pop up that are doing very, very similar things to what we're doing, or even like the Green Logbook, what you're doing, right? Telling your journey. That's how I started this whole thing, was trying to do that. But there's other people out there that are just starting to do that as well, and
Yeah.
that makes me feel good, because there's more and more people bringing awareness to the entire community.
Yeah.
If they do better, and if they take off and their channel gets big and they get 1 million views, like, more power. I congratulate you. Like, it's really good work you're doing. Um,
Mhm.
the one guy I looked at today, I forget his name, but he literally had like an AI co-host asking the questions.
Did he really? I've never
Yeah,
seen that before.
it was.
Wow.
He was like, "It's Sergeant First Class so and so," and I'm like, "All right, cool." And then it clicked over to this girl, and she was speaking in like an Australian accent, I think, or a British accent, and she was asking him the question. I was like, "This is AI. Come on, man."
Just like, how did you get an Australian person on your first sergeant YouTube channel?
In the American Army, right?
Right,
which is
right.
possible, but I could
Yeah.
tell, and maybe I might be 100% wrong, but it literally, as soon as it switched over, I was like, this has to be AI. So, but it's cool. It's interesting. It's basically people doing the same kind of thing that we've been doing for a while.
Mhm.
And hopefully they stick with it. And hopefully, if you're doing this kind of stuff, or if you're out there, even just speaking to VFW groups or anything like that, just keep doing the work. Trust me, it compounds over time.
Yeah. And, for the fire social worker, excuse me, you could probably get into something like on speaking to folks on base. If you're like certified and you're qualified to talk about, financial stuff, you can really get with like the financial advisor on the base and probably talk to groups of Marines while they're doing their indocs or while they're doing their welcome boards or, any kind of financial education, and talk to them about, hey, this is how you avoid debt. This is how you maximize your funds. This is how you can retire comfortably at 20 years if you decide to do 20 years in the military, or if you decide to get out after 10. Because I see that as something that the military is not concentrated on that specifically, right? We have people who are working in those positions like command financial advisors or like civilian financial advisors on the base. But what's the military, the United States military's missions is to, fight battles, win wars, be ahead of the enemy, just now it's like a whole cyber war, right? So we have to be ahead of that. So the concentration is on that, keeping America safe. The concentration is not on, hey, let's teach our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, whoever, financial education, right? So that could be something that you can focus on, right? Fire social worker is, let me assist you in making the most of your money while you are protecting the nation and doing this, because the focus is not there on that. The focus is on protecting the borders, protecting the nation from enemies, foreign and domestic, et cetera, et cetera. At least that's something I would do. And I've seen people like on YouTube or on Facebook who actually get with the financial advisors and give talks about, real estate investing, or, just different speeches in front of, groups of Marines, at least in my service. So there's a potential for that. There is. You just have to talk to the folks on the base.
Yeah. And I mean, the financial advisors and stuff that we have on the base are usually there for after the fact purposes, right? After somebody's already screwed up their money and went into debt and got a $10,000 loan at 72% interest.
Yeah. I've had, God, man, the things I've had to deal with in my last 2 years of in the Marine Corps, man. I had a knucklehead who he had 4 cars. One of them was not working. It was a BMW in the barracks, at the barracks parking lot. And he had a couple other cars. He pulled up with like a brand new Honda Civic at one point, and then he decided he was going to get married. Lady had like 3 kids. I'm like, okay, well, you're like an E4 dude. You're kind of inheriting a family there at that point. So can't really tell him no, because that's his choice. I'm not there to tell him no, but via his staff sergeant and me, we kind of talked to him a little bit, like trying to knock some sense into him. But yeah, this dude was, he had the Honda Civic. It was like a brand new lime green Honda Civic. And then randomly one day he just showed up in a brand new Toyota Highlander. It cost more than my car. And I'm like, dude, I'm his OIC, so my car had been paid off for like 5 years at that point. But yeah, like not smart decisions, right? I understand, like, maybe he had good intentions with his family. He wanted to get a bigger car because now he has this new family, a family of 5 as an E4, which is a little tough. And then he decides he wants to get out of the Marine Corps. So, like, not very good decisions all around, right? So we had to sit there and I'm like, hey, look, let's do a financial management worksheet on this guy, because things aren't adding up. I just don't feel good that he's going to be in the right mental state to, to survive, really, with the whole family that he just, brought upon himself. So sure enough, we did a financial worksheet on the guy. He was $90,000 in debt, and he had like his Honda Civic, because he was underwater with his other car that he traded in. So he owed like another 15,000 on that car, and he still owed on the BMW in the parking lot. I'm like, oh my God, it was just a mess. So yeah, we had to do like a counseling, and we sent him over to the financial manager on base. And just like you mentioned, it's not until you actually find yourself in some kind of a situation where you actually go see these financial managers, right?
Yeah.
So I, sent him over there, and they had a plan to get him out, but it was like that thing only lasted like a year because he was going to get out anyway. Sure enough, the guy got out for like 2 years, and I follow him on Facebook. He's back in the Marine Corps now, so good on him. Hopefully good choices are being made. Of course, I'm not going to throw out any names, but, wishing the best for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've been that dumb private before as well, and I've made some pretty special decisions with my money over time, and even not just as a dumb private, like later on in my life as well. Like sometimes, like it's really like we'd said, it's a mental mind shift kind of thing to it's really the relationship you have with money, right? It's at the end of the day, like, and you may or may not have come up in a family that knows how to take care of money. You may have grown up in a family that was on welfare. Like, there's different situations for different folks. And at any point in the storm, you could be at one of those points along the path. But really it's just developing a good relationship with money, and not because of what somebody else thinks, right? So then you tie in the self-esteem thing. Like you're earning a lot of money to spend a lot of money on stupid shit that impresses other people that you don't give a damn about, right? So yeah, it's a whole bunch of things, but really it's just a mind shift, and then the relationship you actually have with money. And when you start to build that relationship and work on that, really same with your spouse, the more you work on the relationship and build a relationship, the better the relationship is. Same with money. You just got to build a better relationship with it.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not the enemy, right? A lot of folks don't talk about it because they feel like, hey,
it's not the root of all evil.
It isn't, as long as you make it work for you, right? So there's, like, for instance, for my kids, I have different funds or different accounts for each of one of them. They're all being invested into. So I throw money in there every month. It gets invested. And, there was a point in time where the mailman dropped off some mail. My son saw it in the mail, and he opened up his own, Navy Federal little envelope, and he's like, Dad, what the heck? And I'm like, hey, he's like, you telling me I can't have a PS3 or whatever, or PS5? I'm like, no, dude, that's for the future, man. Just stop looking at that stuff. He's like 9, stop looking at that. It's not for you right now. And then, but often I'll sit down with them and talk to them about money and about investing, about, hey, look, mow your lawns, save your money, your $30 here and there. You don't have to spend it all at one time. Just have a plan for it. Maybe spend 10% of it, 20% of it, save the rest of it, And now that, like, my daughter's in college, that's the same thing I tell her, because she's got a job. She's making a significant amount of money. And I'm telling her, hey, look, you're no longer a kid anymore. You're an adult now. Don't spend all your money. I understand you're living at home with us right now while you're going to college. That doesn't mean, you get free reign to just do whatever you want, because now I'm putting bills on her to kind of give her some ownership of life, right? Like, you're growing up, you're going to have to pay something. And not that I'm trying to double down and, maybe she's paying half the mortgage. I'm not doing that to her. I'm like, hey, look, pay your own cell phone bill, pay your car insurance, or at least a portion of it, pay some of the Wi-Fi. I had to do it when I was a kid, and I think it worked out pretty well for me. So I'm just passing those lessons along. You don't want to give anybody a free ride. You want to make them feel what it is to earn your dollar, especially when they join the military. They've never seen an E2, has never seen, oh my God, I'm making I'm making $800 every 2 weeks now. This is incredible, you know, and that's how I felt. And I'm like, but you know, I wasted all my money. I would always go to the ATM and take it out and go to the freaking nightclub or out with friends and stuff.
Yep.
I'd spend it on dumb crap, you know, and it took me 10 years of that to figure out like I'm really messing up here. So the next 10 years I focused on getting better, getting educated, and you know, asking a lot of questions. And just to answer Fire Social Worker's question on here, will you be going to MilCon Money in May? I did not have plans of going out there. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it. I don't know if I don't know anything about it. So I'd have to do some research. But as of right now, I wasn't planning on it. I may go if it's in May. I mean, it's still quite a ways away, so we could probably make some adjustments and some plans. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's in.
Yeah, if we want to pull it up here, I'm curious about it now because I've heard about it, but I've not done much research on it. I don't. I like to talk about money. I just don't. I don't know. I'm not like a financial advisor or anything like that. I'm always down to learn, and I read a lot of like the Ramsey books and stuff, and Rich Dad Poor Dad and all this, and I read a lot of financial books. But I don't know. Like I have a way that works for me. It may not work for everyone. San Antonio, Texas.
Amazing place. Okay. Love San Antonio.
Never been. Never had the pleasure.
It's amazing. It's really, really nice. It's very middle Texas, kind of off the beaten path. Still a big city. About 2 hours. I think it's about 2 hours south of Austin.
Okay.
And just really, really nice. And the military community there is amazing in San Antonio. We had did I get his? Yeah, I got his episode up. One of the guys we had on the show who's down there in San Antonio, he does real estate stuff down there, and the military community there is amazing. Plus they have the biggest concentration of military medical professionals there. That's where they send them for school and stuff like that. Nice. The medics. So yeah, great place.
Have to check that out, man. San Antonio, May 15th, 17th. All right, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
That's good. Good to know. Good to know. I'm glad he brought that up. Could have put something on my radar because I don't think I have anything planned in May. So that's good.
Yeah. And he'll be on, hopefully, I think we got it locked in for next Sunday. He'll be on the show. So we can hang out and chat about all these things. I don't get into all the deep into the money stuff because I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't legally give financial advice.
Right.
But at the same time, it does interest me, and I do have my own method. Dave Ramsey is definitely
the snowball.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the people that started me on that path when I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's a good one. Speaking, you brought up the mental stuff or the medical stuff. I mean, so I this week I went to the one of the VA centers, one that I've not been to before here in San Diego. It was in a place called La Jolla, which is like a nice, like kind of beachy area, right? And I was at work and I started getting a really bad toothache. And I'm like, shoot, you know, I don't want to have to deal with this over the weekend. I don't want to have to deal with this next week, right? Because I'll be out of office next week. So I gave them a call, you know, the VA here in San Diego, and I'm like, hey, look, is there any openings for, you know, VA dental for the dental appointment, the dental office? And they came back with, we have walk-ins at 12:30, 1:30 if you can make it. So I called around maybe 11 o'clock. I was like, oh crap, man, let me talk to my boss real quick and see if I can go. So, you know, I work on a Navy installation, talk to the boss, and they're like, yeah, you know, it's Friday, whatever, go for it. Go get your tooth fixed. Cool. I went over there, dude. I'm talking about like very efficient. Like I went in there, I got there around 1, maybe. They put me on the walk-in list. 10 minutes later, they called my name. Another few minutes later, I was in a seat getting x-rays, getting my tooth looked at. The dentist came in just a few minutes later after that. I'm like, you know, before I was in uniform and I was getting out, I had this impression of the VA. It's like, oh, fuck, you can't get into the VA. It's terrible. Dude, the 2 times that I've been to the VA office here in Southern California, man, I've had nothing but great experiences. Like, nothing but great. Like, the facilities are good, the people are pleasant, you know. It The only bad thing about it is when you go to try to schedule something, they schedule, because they're so backed up, they schedule you to, like, September, or, like, months out, right, for some of the things. But, like, I went to the VA and I asked them about orthotics because I've always had orthotics in my shoes from, like, plantar fasciitis and all that. And, like, dude, when I got a call like 2 days later from the orthotics office that they referred me out to, and I went over there, they took, like, the mold of my foot and all that. And they're like, yeah, we'll call you back in 2 weeks. We'll have your orthotics ready. I'm like, this is incredible,
Yeah.
The dental office, like, same afternoon, they came and saw me. Now, I will say the dentist was not able to help me out because he was not my primary dentist. He was like the on-staff guy that was there. And he's like, but he told me what was wrong. And he's like, here's how you can temporarily fix it until you get on the appointment schedule with your actual dentist, which I'm fine with because I kind of understood that, he's not going to bust out like full on dental surgery on the spot, But I'm like, all right, I'm okay with this. But dude, I mean, I think the VA, as far as like the services that they provide, I was always under the impression that it was going to be a nightmare, and it really wasn't for me. It could be for some things, and maybe they're doing something better now than they were years ago. But man, I was pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think they're improving a lot, especially now. Like there's a whole lot of VA stuff in the spotlight in Washington D.C., especially the last 12 months, and over time they're improving, and figuring things out as they go. But I would say compared to maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I personally haven't gone through the VA hospital at all. I did have a few neighbors when I was still living in Georgia that were going back and forth to the VA hospital, and they had all kinds of, they had like people that would come to the house and pick them up and take them there and back and forth.
Yeah. They offered that.
Yeah, so it was really, really good. Like it seemed like it was really good, and from what my neighbors had told me about it and what they experienced, they were really happy with it. I think the only drawback is, and I think that's just the way the military kind of real estate agents work, is they pick spots in certain cities that are not really the best kind of spots to put things. So maybe it's in a neighborhood that's experiencing some drawbacks in that particular neighborhood, or it might not be completely, let's just say, safe. I'll put that in air quotes because I feel safe anywhere I go pretty much. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, usually they'll have set up just like a military base, right? They have like the gates and the fencing around the building and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about VA medical facilities. Clay out there in the DC area, he's raving about the VA military facilities out there, the medical facilities. So
yeah, I was surprised at this one here because this one's located in La Jolla. So if you've ever been to San Diego, La Jolla is like the Beverly Hills of San Diego. It is like you can't find a house under like 2 or 3 million under there, man. Over there, it's an amazing place to go to. Awesome little beach community, right? And it's close to like Marine Career Station Miramar. So there's a big concentration of military in San Diego in general. So they have strategically placed little places like by the beach. They have one in central San Diego. They have like the main office is in central San Diego. They have another one closer to like where they have like base housing, so it's a brand new VA facility. But yeah, I was like, wow, La Jolla, let me go check this one out. I've never been there before. And I made a little video of it on the Green Logbook, and I put it on there. It's like a little short of my visit out there. Just me walking up into the building and all that. They're doing a lot of construction, which looks like they're improving the grounds. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing but great things. Like it's an immense building. I walked in and I was like, hey, look, I'm looking for dental. the security guy at the front is like, "Hey, yeah, I got you, man. You know, he walked me over to the map. He's like, you're right here. You just need to go down here and to the right and go upstairs." And I'm like, awesome. This is like, okay. I wasn't just standing around there like a fool with my sucking my thumb. You know,
Yeah.
somebody actually like approached me like, "Hey, look, you need help, sir?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I do." It was good. And then there's like a group of like veterans outside in like wheelchairs, just having a good old time, just like talking and conversating. You know, it was good to see that. Really good to see like people enjoying themselves. You know, in a place that's supposed to be like, hey, you're going over there for medical, you know, a sterile hospital area. But it was good to see people just conversing and having a good time. You know, getting away from all the worries for just a quick minute.
Do you ever go over to like the regular, and I don't, you have to forgive me because I don't know exactly what's there, but
Mhm.
there's a military base or two there. Do you ever go to the base to go to the medical facilities on the base or anything?
Yeah, so they have like Balboa Hospital, which is
Mhm.
here in San Diego, close to downtown. Um, I've gone there many times actually. Um, that's a nice spot. I've gone to the Camp Pendleton one many times. I've been stationed at Camp Pendleton a few times, so I go out there. They have a brand new naval hospital out there. You can see it from the highway. It's beautiful. It's like from what it was to what it is now. It's completely it's amazing. I've been in there once. It's pretty nice. I guess I don't know. I mean, comparing them, I don't know. I now experience the new VA hospitals, and I have nothing bad to say. I never had anything bad to say about the naval hospitals at all that I've been
Mhm.
to. They all have worked out well for me. Um, there was one time though when I was going in there and getting some nerve work done, and they accidentally hit the nerve, and my
Uh,
entire body went sideways. You know, but you have to understand that some of these naval hospitals, or I don't know, army hospitals, you have people who are learning, right? A lot of
Yeah,
them
they're
are
teaching
training
hospitals.
hospitals,
Yeah.
right? A lot of them are teaching hospitals, right? And so they might be learning on you. So you
Right.
just need to ask, like, hey, can I get somebody who knows what they're doing? I mean, I don't want like an O1 doing heart surgery on me. That's
Right.
probably not going to happen, right? Right out of medical school. But you have to understand these are teaching hospitals, right? The VA, I don't know if they're teaching hospitals. They may be. Um, I've not done the research on that, but I've not had to go in there for anything like major at all. So,
Yeah.
and what I found was anything like that they can't do there, or they can't get you on the spot, they'll refer you out, like the orthotics thing. They were like, "Oh yeah, we can have somebody see you here in this state, or we can refer you out." And then, you know, I just went to a chiropractor too, and that was out in town. That was referred out, and that was like right by my house. So I'm like, shoot, I'll just go there, and then on my way home from work, and go home.
Yeah.
I get adjusted, and then go home. You know, so it was a pleasant experience overall, I think.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, would there be a reason to take one over the other? Not really comparison, but like if
I
if
think just
there's a
proximity.
yeah, okay.
Proximity. I mean, I wouldn't mind
Mm.
going to one of the naval hospitals, um, like especially if they already have all my files, they know me. If I have a doctor I've been working with there, I don't have an issue with that. It's just proximity, and for me, the VA hospital is closer to me.
Right.
I mean, I also have TRICARE, right? So I can choose to contact TRICARE, but going through the VA, there's no copays or anything. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go through them. Like TRICARE is the backup. At least for my family, you know, they go through other doctors who are under TRICARE, right?
Mhm.
But it was just easier for me just to go to the VA and ask them, or just message them online,
Yeah.
because you just go on va.gov, go on my health net, and you can message your primary care manager directly, the doctor there directly. And the dude got back to me like the same day. So that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing a ton of stuff, and as we said, like really improving things, making things better, and streamlining processes and cutting out a lot of fluff, so you don't have to go through a mess of paperwork and a mess of people to get some simple stuff done.
Yeah, it was super simple, man. I enjoyed it. Anybody who's on the fence about going to a VA hospital to get stuff done, I'd say try it out. Try it out. It's not a bad experience at all. Actually, you might be surprised. It might be a very good experience. Yeah. I walked in, I got coffee in the lobby, walked to my appointment. I was like, I'm feeling, aside from my lower back pains and ITB pains, and I can go on and on, aside from all these pains, having some coffee and walking to my appointment was not that bad. It actually made me feel pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I got, unless you want to talk about this weight loss surgery real quick and give me your hot take on it.
All right. What are we talking about? What weight loss surgery is this? Ozempic? What are we talking about?
VA. Hold on. Let me share this tab real quick. I think this is basically it. I was like, this can't be, but I guess it is. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Signing up to get weight loss surgery. And I don't know exactly what this procedure is. I think it's to help you lose weight.
Is this something new? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah. I don't know if it's new or not. Right. It's a VA website. I spent a lot of time on the VA website looking for weird, obscure stuff, because that's what you find on the VA website. But depending on the BMI, so yes, after you leave the military service, if you're not actively staying with your exercise regimen, doing this kind of things that we talk about, walking and a bunch of other stuff, swimming.
Yeah.
But you will tend to get a little bit more sedentary after you retire in a lot of cases, not every case. And I guess this is one of those ways to kind of offset that, maybe.
Okay, so bariatric surgery. Is this where they put that band around your stomach? They open up your stomach, they make it smaller, and they sew it back or staple it together, and then I've heard of this before, but it's not the specific program, so I didn't know that this existed. They give you the option of getting this surgery if you have a certain BMI, and I saw some qualifying factors on there too.
Yep.
BMI of 40 or something like that. No, I've not heard of that, but I know that the VA is coming out with new programs because people, they just want to alleviate a lot of the stuff, a lot of the health issues.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at here, and why I kind of brought it up is because this potentially is tying then to things like it says there, like health problems such as diabetes, heart disease, sleep apnea, which are then also rateable VA things, right? So yeah, something to think about. I just was curious of what your thoughts and hot take is on it, because I don't know how I feel about it, right?
Well, what's kind of, what are you thinking about it? I'm curious.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm to that point where I would consider doing something like that. I'm trying to think of it from the perspective of 10 or 20 years down the road, where maybe my health deteriorates or gets, my weight, I start to have weight issues or something like that in the future. And then would I consider doing this kind of treatment in order to then get back under a certain BMI? Because again, let's be honest, if you're not active duty anymore, after so many years, you're going to get a little bit sedentary or more sedentary. And I can see this happening, especially if you're out there trying to enjoy your life, you're trying to, experience some new culinary experiences, or, eat your way through all the tacos in San Diego, maybe, which is something that I would love to do personally.
I love doing it every weekend, man.
But you got to pay for it at some point, right? So, I don't know.
So, John, man, I'll give you my take on this real quick. Since I retired, I've gained 10 pounds, right? 10 pounds, right? So I was heavy as it was, in the military. I'd have to go every weigh in, I'd be over my weight, and I'd have to get taped. I always made the tape because I had, a smaller waist, a thicker neck, and all that. But due to the thicker neck, I think I have like a 18-inch neck maybe. Due to the thicker neck, I'd have to go and get sleep apnea stuff done, because they say, hey, look, if your neck is over 17 inches, you may suffer from sleep apnea, which in turn I do, right? It doesn't really, I don't have to use a CPAP machine or all that stuff all the time, but I can see that happen. But I will say the biggest thing for me is to continue having an active lifestyle after I got out. That was I would not, that was a no-brainer for me. I was not going to steer away from that. That was a non-negotiable for me. Like, even after I get out, I'm still getting up at 5:30, 6:30. I'm still doing, if I'm not running, I can't really run too long of a distance, because then, my legs start to go numb due to this crap that I got going on. But I still make an effort to walk, at least 2 miles. If I can go longer, I will go longer. If I can do a walk run or a walk jog, I will do that. But the non-negotiable for me was, I'm not going to sit there and stuff my face full of tacos, every week, and just feel like shit the entire week because, I'm not doing anything else. I need to have some kind of an active lifestyle. I need to make sure that this is still pumping, because not only am I, still, I'm receiving a retiree, paycheck. I'm receiving a VA disability paycheck. I want to make sure those things kind of last a little bit, because they're now, we need that now in my life after the military. So I'm going to make sure that I'm as healthy as possible in order to, reap the benefits of the 20 years that I put into the military, and all the crap that I've been through. But not only that, but for my own health too. I want to be able to see my kids grow up. I want to see my kids walk across the graduation stage. I want to see those, golden years with my wife, and travel as much as I can. I don't want to be confined to a wheelchair. Shit, sitting down right now is making my legs hurt. I want to stand up, so yeah, I don't want to be confined to that. So I think as folks get out of the military, they cannot just drop everything and be like, hey, no more PT for me. I can't do it, because you're going to wither away pretty quick, man, because your body is just going to be, you just got to take care of it. You just got to take care of it. And something like this surgery that you put on there, I mean, I think that's more for like maybe older folks, or you got to be kind of obese to get that. They're not just going to give it to anybody. They have the requirements there. You have to have some kind of level of BMI or be somewhat obese to do that. And I don't see myself getting into that later on in life. Like, I don't think I'm going to allow myself to get to that point. Even right now, when I feel like my pants getting a little tighter, or I'm feeling like, damn, I got to go another notch on my belt, immediately in my mind, I'm like, no, hell no. Yeah, I need to do something. I need to work out. Maybe I need to go on the elliptical if I can't do the treadmill or whatever, or go swimming. Shit, I went swimming yesterday. I swam some laps. No impact, it felt great. But yeah, that's one thing I think a lot of retirees can't not let go of, is just the health wise, continuing on, not settling into a life of just eating tacos and bread and shit all day. Take care of yourself, because in turn you're taking care of the people around you. And if you, by chance, maybe you're missing legs, maybe there's some circumstance where you can't really do things right, and then you start gaining this weight. Maybe this surgery is for you, and it's there for you. That's how I see it, serving the veteran community. It's there for you if you need it. If not, do your best to avoid getting something like that.
Yeah, I find it interesting that there's more and more things like this. I also came across something about like a retroactive UCMJ thing for the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah. I've been reading a lot about that myself.
Yeah, so it's interesting how things are starting to progress over time, and things like this kind of catch my eyeballs, because You know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you wouldn't even see anything like this coming up on the radar. So I don't think so anyway, or
The
wouldn't
VA
be
is
so
actually getting
well
sued.
published. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting sued for that because at some point, I think it was 2016, McDonough, the guy who runs the VA, had made promises about getting gender reassignment surgeries, or giving out that the VA would be giving out gender reassignment surgeries. And he kind of walked back on that because he was concentrating on things like the PACT Act, right? Because that was going to take a significant amount of money to take care of. Yeah. And now he's getting, they're getting sued again because, you know, they're falling back on their promises to the LGBTQ, et cetera, community. And, you know, I understand that they want to be looked after themselves, but I also understand that there's a lot of other issues too that take precedence, like the PACT Act, things like that. In my eyes, they take precedence, right? Not taking anything away from people who need gender reassignment surgeries or think that they need gender reassignment surgeries, whatever. Not taking anything away from that. But I mean, if I got a guy who's dying from cancer because he's been breathing in toxins, or somebody who needs or who may want gender reassignment surgery, I'm going to put my money towards the guy who's about to die from cancer, you know, at least now, you know. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a nice to have for me. Without getting into it too much, I would rather take care of the person who's dying from cancer, from the toxins, than the person who is looking to get this reassignment surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's interesting that there's a lot of these things that are starting to come to the surface that, again, wouldn't have been so well publicized and wouldn't have been so well documented and wouldn't have the actual attention of the VA or the government to actually put effort into a lot of these things, whether it's obesity surgery or, you know, something else like that. So yeah. I'm really, and that just kind of ties into what we were talking about with the medical system, the VA medical system and their facilities and the treatment and the care that they give out to the VA community. Again, I haven't got to experience that firsthand, but it's good to know that moving forward, things are gradually getting better.
Yeah. And it's going to take more money. I forgot the amount of money I saw on there, but it was several billions of dollars for the VA to take care of, like, not only the VA disability, but also providing the healthcare and also new initiatives. It is an insane amount of money, you know, and it just keeps going up and up every year because you're going to have retirees every year. People are living a little longer now these days, as long as they're taking care of themselves. And you still have, you have things like this bariatric surgery, which is not free by any means, right? You have to pay some medical doctor to do that. And probably it's going to be a civilian doctor you get referred out to.
Yep.
And now, the LGBTQ community is going to be asking for more money for gender reassignment surgery, et cetera. So this thing it's taking the nation, it's taking a ton of money. And shit, I mean, I'd like to bring up the numbers here. I got to look this up. Maybe I won't do it right now because we're kind of getting late into the show, but I'm going to do a deep dive on this stuff now. You've just sparked something there, John, and I'm determined now. Oh man. Hey, shout out to Military Mike, Army and Army National Guard, 30 years, man. That's an accomplishment. 30 years. Dude, I got out at 20. I was like, I don't know if I can do this for another 10, but 30 years takes some commitment, man. Yeah, I salute you, man.
Yep. That's awesome. What else? I think the only thing left for me anyway is apologize to you, sir, and to you out there who's listening or watching for totally just having a brain meltdown last week when I should have been uploading the episode to Spotify and Apple and all the podcast places.
Life happens, dude. Life happens.
Yeah. So I did that and then adjusted some of the dates on the other ones that it did to push them to the top. So that should all be fixed. And it also gives me a little bit of a buffer so backtrack and get some more of these episodes out. So
yeah, and just some quick updates for the folks out there still listening and staying with us. We're still trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on the Military Retirement Podcast on YouTube. So if you would be so kind as to go on the YouTube on Military Retirement Podcast and just hit that subscribe button, and you'll just get updates from every time we have a live stream or a new uploaded video. But it would really help us out a lot because we do have that milestone, that goal to get to 1,000 subscribers. And at that point, we'll go to the Military Influencers Conference in Atlanta. This was it September?
End of September, yep.
End of September. So that's our goal. That's our mission. So we really would appreciate all the help we can get. We're trying to grow that one. I'm still trying to grow my own one, the Green Logbook. It's just a journal on life after the military. That one's growing quite well. So just uploading daily life stuff on there and how things are going. And what else we got going on here? I think that might be it, man. And the Military Retirement Group on Facebook. If you haven't joined that yet, join the Military Retirement Group on Facebook, a community of veterans, retirees, and soon-to-be retirees that are looking to get information and just have camaraderie amongst ourselves. There's a lot of good information on the files tab, a lot of good discussion being put out there. And if you get on the list, when you first sign up for the group, it'll ask you, hey, if you want to be on this list, shoot your email to us and we'll get you on this list, and you'll have priority when our new ebook comes out. It's going to be a free ebook to everybody who's on that list. We're going to shoot it out to you first. And just ebook on military transition, military to civilian transition, and military retirement. A lot of nice to knows and good to haves, etc. And we'd like to get as many people on that email list. I think right now we're at about close to 300 folks that have shared their email with us. So they're going to get first dibs on that, and then we'll release it to the community some way, somehow. We're still trying to figure that part out.
That's right. Yep. I think we're almost there with that thing. I just got some minor tweaks to do to it, and it should be ready for another review. And then at that point, we should be able to get it live somewhere, so then we can start pushing it out down the pipeline.
Cool. Awesome. But with that, I think we're good for this show, man. We can wrap this one up, I think, unless you got something else going.
No. I think we're good. We thank you all for listening. Thank you out there for listening, watching, paying attention. If you made it this far, drop Survivor in the comments below the video.
Let us know you're alive.
I should let me put this on. I'll make it official. Where my banner is at. Make a new banner. I hope I spelled that right. So yeah, if you made it this far, drop Survivor down in the comments. We appreciate every single one of you. Who was that? Mad Mike? Call him Mad Mike, but it's actually Military Mike. Military Mike, the fire social worker, and everybody else. Judy Romero for joining us as well today. Thank you all, and catch us out there. We'll check you later.
Awesome. Hey, good to be here. Out here,
man.